Oh boy, it's Mia. There he is! My eyes clenched shut and I could immediately feel the onset of a headache. Rap to Jesus, why have you forsaken me? I opened my eyes and turned back to see Mia approaching, looking annoyed as if there wasn't a default person anyways. She was also dragging Ben by the arm and was putting up the most feeble resistance in history. Oh, so we're doing these guys before Ferris? Hell yeah. She pulled up to me and yanked Ben into position next to her. Inco, what is this about? Ben asked, slightly winded. I shrugged. I honestly had no idea. Mia and I hadn't exchanged any words today. We exchanged glasses at the dodgeball accident, but that was someone else. Benny Boo, you need to work this out with your bestie here. Tell him I'm innocent as usual. That line got my teeth clenched a little tighter. Of course, Mia, but I still do not know what is going on, Ben said, straightening himself out and looking at me. Mia, for her part in all of this, just stared at me like I was supposed to have any clue what she was going on about. Oh yeah, because of the rumors that Mia did something. Instead of just, Inco and Damien. For my part, I just stared at her, then looked at Ben, then back at Mia with a constant expression of general annoyance. I really had better thing to do than whatever the hell this was. When she realized I was going to participate in this, her snout curled into a frown. This is why I think it's the same fucking guy, because that's not what noses do. Listen, alright. Listen the fuck up. The definition of snout is the projecting nose and mouth. Or a person's nose. It's not your face. Your face frowns. Maybe your lips, but not your nose. Like your nose. I mean, your nostrils can flare, I guess. Look, Baldy. I don't know what your beef is, but I saw that expression of yours at gym. I didn't throw that ball, got it. You know that? So why you give me the fucking stink eye? Inco, is that true? Oh, fuck off, Ben. Hold up my phone to type in a response. Ben and Mia both share a perplexed look. I wasn't mad at her. I was mad. I got hit by a ball. I don't really care about Mia, drawled the digital voice. Ben's face turned pale as he put the pieces together of what was happening. Apparently, he had been the one to call 911 after... I'm going to call it 9/11 because I think it's funny that way. I apparently have been the one to call 9/11 after I was hurt, so he definitely saw the condition I was in. Even if he would probably blow up a building if it helped me out, he was not stupid. Quickly put two and two together and landed on the right card. Oh, I'm so sorry. No one had told me that. Ben's face was contorted with embarrassment and concern. It made me feel a little bad. I could have told him at least. Still pissed at him, but we could at least be civil. Especially since I still needed to talk to him about what his and Olivia's deal was. I was about to type out a reply when I heard a snort. I looked up to see the dumb bitch had that trademark curled smile plastered on her face. Don't you mean her snout? Yep, here we go. Oh my god, he can't even talk anymore. That's just so precious. Now him and I will make a match mute set. I could feel my face curling into a sneer. Oh, I love sneers. A sneer. I love that word. I'd be pissed enough if she was mocking me at this point, but bringing Olivia into it, especially when she wasn't here, it was several grades. Wait, especially when she wasn't here, was several grades a mistake over the mark. Mia, you can't be saying things like... Ben attempts to pull his girlfriend, reel his girlfriend in was ineffective as ever. She barely registered he was talking. Oh, hush, Benny. Oh, hush, Benny. You know, it's like some playful ribbing among friends, right, Baldy? After all, we get along so well at the formal. We even danced. Oh, yeah, they did. Kiss, 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 kiss. What? Oh, cool. She didn't tell him about that either. Mia continues to be a class act of a girlfriend. Well, you know, you were busy with the cripple. You expect me to just sit around like a loser all night? Hardly. Oh, fuck. Hardly. Ben's face began to form a frown. I was well past that. My blood was beginning to boil. Mia, do not call Olivia that. We're going to get in trouble with the sensitivity officer. You mean the person that only talks to the teachers? Oh, boo. You're so uptight, Benny. But whatever. We're talking to Baldy here, weren't we? Oh, so human boy. How's it feel? Well, don't you do it, you dumb whore. I'm really trying to hold us together. Her face curled further into a vindictive grin. You know, being disabled alongside your girlfriend, you do have so much in... Mia! Ben tried to rein her in one last time, but it was too late. Hell, I tried to rein myself in one last time, but it's too late for that too. Is that the right rein? I don't even know sometimes. I recently had someone say it's the wrong one. Yeah, this is the right one. It's the good rain. Good job. Thumbs up. I mean, considering we had gz, so... I mean, the problem is more like it's one of those subtle words that people get wrong because they never see it in writing. You know, they see rain as into rule, but never rain as into control a horse, or the bit that you put in a horse. The only thing that brought a sparkle of amusement to the back of my brain was as I watched lose control over myself, that Mia clearly didn't see it coming. My hand whipped up behind me and I torqued my entire body into it. I'm pursuing a lot of personal issues for longer than I thought. I still have been piecing things together over the last year. I'd slowly been piecing things together over the last near 2 weeks, but clearly the backlog of Inco issues was too dense to unpack in such a short time. Everything that had been stressing me out, all the shit I had to put up with as mine and Olivia's lives fell apart. It wasn't technically actually Mia's fault, but her inability to be a halfway decent person to anyone, including Ben, made her a juicy and very easy to internally rationalize target for my outlet. Juicy! Don't call it juicy, man! Let's squeeze some of that juice. I may not be able to talk, you dumb bitch. You're just thinking so many mean words right now. But I can plant 5 across your... You're gonna slap her? I thought you were gonna punch. I brought my hand down with full force. I twisted my hips into the bow low on reflex. Maybe I learned that from some Snoot videos some ages ago. I could tell you why I did it. It's because Anon is channeling... Because Anon's Skid Row spirit is channeling into you, cousin. But I could sure tell you it worked. My open palms crashed cleanly against the broad side of her snout. That's a good one. And the uneven surface of her scales bit into my palm, ensuring a strong, clean connection as I followed through. With the force, momentum, and friction, her face followed my hand, and I planted her face toward directly into the floor. How? I think Mia's a bit too sturdy to just fall over, but I fucking love this. By the way, did you know that if you actually slap someone, like, their face just jiggles a lot? And we need a more tense music than this. Sorry, we're listening to the... Actually, let's pull up Mia's theme. We don't listen to that one too much, do we? I think that's B-side. The strike was like a thunderclap. There was a non-zero chance that Olivia heard the resonance all the way back at the Payne's place. Hopefully, Raptor Jesus would make that happen and bring a tiny smile to her face. Was the first sound that Olivia made after I had ricocheted off the ground. I felt a little bad. Mostly for the fact that I just got myself expelled. Yep. But at least a little bit for Ben. Since he just saw the love of his life get body dumped to the school linoleum. Mia, Inco! What the hell? Ben yelled, almost dropping to a knee to try and help his girlfriend. Ben, my man, your girlfriend just spent the last minute and a half insulting me for my disability. I'm really not in the wrong here. You know, I'm gonna have to... Listen, let's pause the music. There's an old saying, punch a Nazi. And I think this is like the extension of that. Like, if someone isn't willing to be a reasonable conversation partner and you have to deal with them anyway, you might as well just slap them. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, she's just here for the rhetoric. I'm really not in the wrong here. I finished the recovery of the blow and straightened up and took a step back. Warning signs were already there that Mount Mia was about to blow. If she could turn any redder, I didn't believe it. You. She steadied herself on all fours for a moment as a drop of... Oh shit, you made her bleed. Buddy, a nosebleed is no joke, and you just fucked up, like, in a special kind of way. You skinny fucker, Mia roared. Ben, the noodly nerd, was unable to stop the full rage force of Mia. I mean, not even the school infrastructure could stop Mia, so Ben losing out was a foregone conclusion. You what? What? Churl? You're calling her Churly? That's not very nice. I roared back in my slurred speech, throwing my arms wide in a taunt. Oh, you're doing that one. We're pulling that posture out of the bag. She grabbed me with both fists at the collar of my shirt and shoved me down. Fortunately for me, I collided head first, which isn't great for someone already suffering from traumatic brain injuries. Hilariously, unfortunately for Mia, however, it was that my head cracked off the floor right as the door to Principal Scaler's office opened. Me, I didn't notice as she straddled me. Through the stars in my eyes, I could see that she was readying a strike of her own. She planned to punch me directly in my face. The good news is that it never happened. Mr. Ferris cleared the gap in a single... What is it with people in this world and clearing gaps in just mere strides? Like, Solly has mastered the art of the JoJo walk, and clearly Ferris does too. Solly and Ferris just crossing through city blocks in 2 steps. Ferris cleared the gap in a single stride in his huge fist, which, by the way, is so big that Inco describes it as his palm being big enough for his hand. And his huge fist grabbed around the elbow of her readying arm. He yanked her and pulled her off the ground like a rag doll. She squealed in pain. I mean, to be honest, that's how you dislocate. Man, what was up with Ferris and fucking up people's arms? Dude needed a better hobby. No, he needs a hobby that hurts less people. My head swam. It was hard to focus. I could feel the bile rolling up in my gut and just barely managed to roll over to my side before spewing the contents. Oh shit, he's vomiting. That's... Oh, shit. Yeah, that's, So, I don't know what to tell you, but, like, if you are suffering a head injury and you start vomiting, or you start feeling tired, or sleepy, or fatigued, or disoriented, that's really bad news, and you should probably call a doctor very quickly. Anyway, let's turn to some dramatic music, because it seems like things are going even worse. Oh boy. Ooh, I show I. Yeah, also, this is the 3rd time I woke in the nurse's office. My mom was in the visitor's chair looking profoundly distraught. Nice! I got that picturesque awakening I wanted at the beginning of the year. All it took was 2 major head traumas. It's 3. You also cracked your face on the door. Not worth it. I let out a reflexive groan as I tried focusing my eyes on anything specific, and my mom leapt to her feet. Oh, Raptor Cinco! She cried as she was upon me immediately. She kissed my forehead and cradled my head. You probably shouldn't do that at this moment. I'm sorry to tell you. Like, all those are his neck. Like, ooh, this is just uncomfortable. After a few moments, she had called enough that Mr. Farrad felt comfortable, gently pulling her away. He took a knee next to the nurse's bed as my mom returned to a post at the visitor's chair. He looked troubled. Hardly a surprise. I've been making his and Scalar's job awfully hard lately. He took a few moments to organize his thoughts before beginning. To begin with, Mr. Nito, Mrs. Moretti has been suspended. If you were concerned about her attempting to act upon you again, you may rest assured that she will not be a problem. I nodded, even though the subtle movement triggered a wave of vertigo in me. She has had a multitude of behavioral issues in the past, and Mrs. Scale informed me that she has been directed at alternative attempts and discipline multiple times, but it clearly has not worked. Mr. McKnight attempted to speak for her with Mrs. Scaler put her foot down on this. It is deeply troubling when students resort to violence in that way. Yeah, you've stopped it twice, man. Inco is just a magnet for trouble. Ferris is just like losing rep points every day. Ouch. Things are bad, man. This is just bad. Like, I'm being jokey, but to be honest, I'm actually feeling the anxiety I felt with ending 1 in Snoot game. You know, that, like, shit's fucked. And all I can do is make jokes. Mr. McKnight was insistent that Mrs. Moretti was not to blame in the engagement, that there was a misunderstanding, but I saw her throw you to the ground and force you to hit your head. After you had suffered such injuries already, to allow such an action to an already injured student would be a mark on the school's name I don't know would ever be washed away. Mr. Potter? I know I'm going for that. I need a really deep voice from him because he's a big man. He's really big, and he has a big throat. I again replied that I understood. It was honestly shocking how fast she resorted to violence. Like, yeah, you hit her with an open palm, she started bleeding, you hit her to the floor, man. You went a lar. You did not just hit her, man. You went the mile. But she was already ready to pound me to the floor for it. How long was that fuse waiting to be sparked? I mean, after the dance at the prom, who knows? At the formal, I guess. Who knows? How long was mine? Yeah, because don't forget, you went first. You did go first. All things considered. I wondered if it eventually would have been Olivia or Ben that sparked it off at the wrong time and gotten brutalized instead of me. Another mark for Inco takes the team, I guess. No. I really need to stop making a habit of this. I'm pretty sure I'd actually die. Yeah, at this point, you kind of have it coming, buddy. Given the circumstances, you wanted to monitor your condition for a moment. You're all out for a few moments, but given your recent medical history, we'll be getting you delivered to the hospital as soon as the ambulance arrives. That doesn't mean we'll have to suspend our talk for a moment. I patted my pants for my phone. I didn't want to risk moving my head to avoid tripping away with vertigo again, but I can't figure out what pocket it was in last. I assume you were looking for this. Mr. Farris hands me my phone. A crack in the screen. I hit in frustration. Jesus Christ, man! Buy a good phone cover. On the other hand, it's like a week or two old. I believe when Mrs. Moretti tackled you, it fell from your hand and hit the floor. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll wave his apology off. Sounds like he did anything wrong here. Good news is that the screen still functioned well enough for my knees, but it was definitely getting replaced. Yeah, it's nice and cheap. Why did it even break then? If you're going to do something with the cracked screen, okay, but otherwise you can just not have this happen. If it's not a problem, why do it, you know? It's a Chekhov's gun. It's like, why bother? Why put the gun there? You're making a scene out of it. I mean, it's like a paragraph, but whatever. We need to talk after I get checked out. It is important. Inco, I think you should. It is important. I'd repeated the message for emphasis. It is important. Red alert. Red alert. It is important. Terminate. Exterminate. Exterminate. Exterminate! I've never ever seen an episode of Doctor Who, but I do know that I want to say exterminate! Babu. Oh. Someone is playing Plock, that goofy adventure game, and it's like the worst of both worlds when it comes to a checkpoint system. Anyway, moving on. Mr. Farris's frown deepened as he looked at me. I held my gaze firm, and fortunately Mom stepped in on my side. Mr. Farris, if my son is so insistent on the matter, even after being hurt, then maybe it would be in best interest if you hear him out. He's been through a lot lately, and knowing that he has the support of the faculty here when he needs them would do wonders for putting his and my mind at ease. Hell yeah, Mom! He looked at her, then back at me. I tried not to blink, as if to beam the importance of this to him. Well, another beating, he relented. Well, Mr. Nito, I visit you in the hospital after you've been thoroughly checked out by your doctor. I flashed him the best smile I could manage at the time. A few minutes later, the EMTs arrived and transferred me to a gurney. Ordinarily, I'd have more bravado to say I could manage myself, but the slightest rocking made my hand call. The slightest rock on my head came with disorientation, so I decided I would leave it to the experts for now. They wheeled me out towards the hall, and thankfully at this point the rest of the students had gone home, or had been forcefully shooed away by the staff. Either way, I wouldn't have to deal with the rumor mill. Mom kept up behind the gurney as I was wheeled into the hall. We exited the office door and began rolling down the hall proper. I managed to glance to the far wall where Ben was sitting. He was pressed up against the wall with his head in his hands. I couldn't see his face, but his posture was easy to read. We'd have to talk at a later date. Sorry, man. Are you sorry, though? That really went away. Ooh. Also, if you're smart, you realize that this is the expression he takes when Mia's like, your drugs are mine, you fool, he's a psychotic. Even though, again, psychosis medication are not for being a psychopath. But people don't know, and that's what matters. Dr. Nickett wasn't there, but the doctor that did see me... Why are we focusing on Dr. Nickett if he's just exchangeable for any other doctor? What are you doing? It's like... Your economy of detail is in really awkward places sometimes. I want to point out that my problem with the story so far has been just, like, structural issues. Character plot and theme-wise, it's fine. Like, it's doing what it needs to actually stick the landing. It's fine. But, man, if it's just missing a lot of obvious opportunities and kind of screwing things up in little ways, it's just... solid B+, at the minimum. Especially if it sticks the landing at the end. Because you know what they say, beginning and end are the important parts. Although a boring middle can bore the shit out of people. You gotta make sure they know the ending's with it. Mom tried to come to my defense, say that it was someone else that initiated the injury, which was mostly true, but he shot it down pretty cleanly. Regardless of the injury, the fact of the matter is that your son's his own person and needs to try to avoid circumstances in which this happens. It may have been out of his control, and that was a key part of it, but I clearly need to emphasize with him how important it is to avoid further injuries like this. Now we're describing him as old and slightly fat. Nice. Mom quickly quailed at his retort. Good try, Mom, but objectively right in this one. Mr. Nito. The good news is that the impact wasn't hard enough to seeming to exacerbate anything, it seems. Your scans came back the same as they were before, and a quick cognition test affirms you're still functional. But please, for the love of all that is holy, don't do that again. I'm being very serious when I tell you the wrong kind of blow could remove your ability to communicate at all or do worse. You could go blind. Yeah, I affirmed to him. He scrutinized before knowing to turn to Mom. We'll keep him overnight for observation, but he should be good to go back home tomorrow. I recommend against him attending school tomorrow as well. Mom affirmed the plan and sat by the bed. After a moment, she donned a disappointing look. Inco, what happened at school today? Mr. Ferris and Mrs. Scaler said he were jumped by a bully. Has this happened before? Man, this song is so quiet at first. Oh, it's on the wrong volume. It's supposed to be on volume 2. Sorry about that. Sorry. I'm dumb. Let's make one more. No, we can wait a little. Is there any? Oh, there's no obvious. Oh, there's an obvious cutting point here, and that's still a pretty decent chunk of text. There's also a cut here. Oh shit. Well, you know what? We'll go with the next point. That's like obvious turning point. Okay. Before I could answer, a rumbling echo I could feel in my chest occurred. I would also like to know. I would also like to know the circumstances, as well as what you wish to talk with me about. Ferris said as he entered the room. Mom went about the basic pleasantries, and Mr. Ferris pulled over one of the chairs alongside hers at the side of the bed. Don't do that twice. I pondered for a moment. Ponder the orb, Inco. Your scalp is a mighty orb. For a moment, how much to tell. Partially because I wanted to protect Olivia from any chance of the fraud would come out. She had enough going on and didn't need to deal with any of that. And also partially because it was going to be my word against Ben and Mia's. Maybe just Ben's now? Either way, the math wasn't mathing very good. Either way, the math ain't mathing there too good. I understand this is a typical subject to broach, Inco. But ensuring issues like bullying are start properly requires us to know what is going on. He sighed. He was right, of course. Okay, my digital ventriloquist answered. Technically, okay like this has to be both letters, uppercase, if I recall correctly. It's a weird detail, but I know goofy fucking details, and I love beating people on the head with it, like a pedantic asshole. I don't even know what OK stands for. Oklahoma? Oh, it stands for all correct, but with a K. Nice. Or correct. Which is all... What the fuck is going on? Old Kinderhook! Popularized as a slogan during President Van Buren's re-election campaign in the 1840s in the U.S. His old nickname, Old Kinderhook, what the fuck is going on? I love how many versions of the verb okay. It can be okay with uppercase or okay with AY. Jesus. Do you use an apostrophe or ed? Who knows? It's a mystery. It is a mysterious verb. A very mysterious jogo exists here. Man, I miss mysterious jogos. I will keep that word in my heart forever. Actually, let's go with hospital drones. I took a moment to collect my thought and ultimately settled on a more sanitized version of what I told the Otacon after the Mia incident. I avoided the nature of the blackmail, implying that I didn't catch part of the conversation and didn't know why Mia was forcing Olivia to do this. I detailed how she snuck up on us, and I admittedly instigated a little episode in the hall. It was entirely accidental, but I emphasized the point that Mia was clearly had a history of violent outbursts. Mom looked horrified, while Ferris carried a contemplative front. This is where racism is reborn between species. No doubt the accident had some sort of paperwork come to his desk after it happened. And while I ultimately tossed myself under the bus with Mia and Ben's help, her attack on me today would likely be more enough to cast doubt on her version of events. Why not come forward when Miss Principal Scaler confronted you? By the way, I think this is very important to note, but he has used Principal Scaler and Mrs. Scaler. And I think it's important to give a character a voice when they talk about certain people and stick to it. And the reason I say that is it gives a character a certain je ne sais quoi, you know? It shows their relationship in a way, you know? Yeah. Why is she Principal Scaler here, but she's Mrs. Scaler here? Like, stick to one. Stick to one. It just works better. It shows that he has a professional relationship. Um, for example, when I write from Yadakan's perspective or Solly's perspective, they're both a little bit more lackadaisical about how they treat their relationship. So they call her Kelly, which is the first name I chose for her because I don't know what her actual first name is. They call her Skelly. Kelly. She's Kelly Scalar, but they are adults, and she may be her boss, but she's kind of lax and loose. They're a little older than her, maybe. I don't know. I think Yadakan's actually older because she's mid-30s, and he's like, yeah. Point is, they're a bit more familiar and in their minds she's Kelly. Maybe at work they'll call her Principal Scalar. To other people they will call her Principal Scalar. But in conversation with friends, she's just Kelly. Like co-workers talk. You have no idea the paper. Really? I don't. You know what? You can give me a taste. Give me a little taste. Just a little drop of that concentrated licorice on my tongue so I can recoil in horror. I shrugged. It was my word against hers, and Ben hesitated that I was insistent that I was also to blame, taking his girlfriend's side. I don't even know why he had brought on the matter when it was an issue between me and Mia. Also scalar for PS2. Yeah, baby. Man, this is a sharp sound. I love it. Ferris considered that and seemed perturbed by the implication. Yes, Mr. McKnight. Even being the student council president shouldn't have been party to that matter. Huh? I will have to talk to Mrs. Scalar about that later. Again, it's so weird that he uses two different titles for her in the same professional context. Unless the point is to indicate that he's annoyed, but you need to have way more conversations for this to stick. Like he consistently calls her Principal Scalar, and like when he here's the good way to do it. Here's the sexy way to do it. So that a reread's like, oh, I noticed that. You have him call her Principal Scalar. There's a conversation. There's the implication that he's upset, but he hides it. And he calls her Mrs. Scalar. It's a slip. And then later, when he gets really upset, and we know he's upset, he calls her Mrs. Scalar. You're like, oh, wait. He calls her Mrs. Scalar when he's pissed off at her. So when earlier he said Mrs. Scalar, that was not a slip of the tongue. That was him leaking he was upset despite hiding it from us otherwise. That stuff is when you reread a story and you're like, oh, that's so good. I like that. Or as I like to call it, the Metroidvania of reading. The knowledge wasn't in your brain yet. And that's what books are for. It's thinking and smarts. Have there been any other incidents? I explained the first bullying instance I had seen, where Mia, Lunar, and Kiara had cornered Olivia. These characters are so fucking weird. They show up for the contest, they show up for the bullying. They don't do that much otherwise, right? And how I tried and failed to protect her, just making the situation worse. Oh, sweetie, you meant well. Still made things worse for Olivia, I retorted. I kind of want the music to be a bit louder. Hold on. I still made things worse for Olivia, I retorted. Ferris was taking notes in his little black book by now. That wasn't a great sign. I see. Was that the scope of her behavior? No. I told him about the formal. About how she gave Olivia acting tips. I told him how I went along with it in good faith, thinking Mia was trying to help. I really think there should be a comma there, like strictly speaking. Or, no, maybe he's saying in good faith thinking. Yeah, that's a weird way to say it, though. But maybe that's just me because I imagine the sentence should go a little different. Whoa. You had seen her bully Mrs. Halford previously. Did you believe that Mrs. Moretti had turned over a new leaf? I frowned and ran my head over my skull. It is a good question. Because in that version, I'm pretty sure old Inco was like just being a fucking moron. And was just like going along with it, you know? I never claimed to be a smart person, Mr. Ferris. I never claimed to be a smart person, Mr. Ferris. I am pretty bad at reading and understanding people. I took what Mia had said at its value and said when I shouldn't have like an idiot. He frowned at that, but noted it down all the same. Why are you using the Japanese text-to-speech? What? Well, it's sounding like it's trying to be syllabic instead of whatever. And then there was the time she said that we danced. When you danced? Yes, with Olivia went with Ben to try and finalize her eulogy. That Mia basically forced me into a dance with her. I answered. I see. I went on to explain how Mia basically spent the entire time insulting Olivia. How she never be able to do moves like this and similar things. That's when I finally put together that Mia was just messing with me and Olivia. That was when I finally put together that Mia was messing with me and Olivia. And after everything that happened, my stay in the hospital and then seeing her again at school, it wasn't going to end well. Oh, she was just doing it to fuck with you and kind of, exert some control. I could see that. Fair enough. I can see how that would create a strenuous situation, yes. How did she come to attack you then? We only opened the door when she was already set upon you. We didn't catch anything before that, and Mr. McNice was sparse on the details. I told him about the near miss with dodgeball in PE, which riled my mother up, and how I didn't see her until after school. She was trying to get Ben to make me apologize to her because it wasn't her fault, which it wasn't. But with everything she had done, I wasn't in the talking mood, so I told her I wasn't mad at her. I think you should really bring up the shootout at the beginning of the year, Inco. But on the other hand, that makes Solly and Scalar look like shit, and that's probably not what he wants right now. So fair enough. And that led to a fight? Mr. Ferris asked, unconvinced. I told her that with my text-to-speech, she immediately began to mock me about it. His frown deepened. She mocked me and said that me and Olivia were together because we are both disabled. Mom hissed at that. Yeah, that's... Your mom hearing that shit, that's how mom mode activates, buddy. That's how your mom turns into a machete killer at night. You shouldn't have told your mom that, buddy. Especially not with the crip word. Just saying, buddy. The C word's off the table. Mom hissed at that. If I hadn't You slapped her! That's not a broadside. That's the grape shot. If I hadn't broadsided Mia's face and gotten her suspended already, I would almost believe Mom would have marched out of this room right now to hunt Mia down and Mama bear her. I lost my temper at that point and slapped her. Mr. Ferris paused writing for a moment before looking at me. And then she retaliated? Yes, sir. He let out a more low rumbling sigh. This is more complicated than expected. It is, sir. It ties into what I wanted to talk to you about. How so, Inco? Since I woke from my injury, I have had moments of intense anger. I have been able to control it until now, but my lashing out at Mia, justified or not, indicates that I have problems. When Mr. Anyata died, you said that there was counseling being offered. Is there still an option for that? He tapped his pen against his chin and thought. I believe I could arrange something, yes. Trauma from loss can manifest itself in many complex ways, which is why it was offered, but I am sad to admit there was no students that it was offered to agree to it. Unfortunately, that's no surprise at all. If possible, then look into it for Olivia as well. Mrs. Halford? Dude, you've been to the fucking stakeout. You know who she is. He hadn't really considered it in this equation either. In that context. Whoops. Yes, I believe I see what you mean. Between Mr. Yatagon's passing and her injury as well as the instances of bullying, it's clear she suffered a great deal as well. See what I can do, Inco, he confirmed. I love that comma. Like, you're not supposed to do it if you don't do it like this, but if you do it, you get brownie points from me. Hearing that was a great relief. No one could force her, but maybe this little extra suggestion would be the push she needed. And I really did think it could help her, if only a little. I don't know about the payment obligations, but the Paynes were concerned that it would not be affordable. Could we work something out for that instead? I looked at my mom with a complex look on her face. I could tell that she knew it was important to me, but the cost would explode quickly. But costs like that could explode quickly. Do they, though? I know, Mom, but I don't have many options here. I mean, considering how much money you are allowed to throw around, Inco, I'm pretty sure it's fine. Mr. Farnsworth balked at the question. What? How would we ever force students in mourning to take the burden of the full cost of such treatment? Where did that idea come from? He seemed legitimately upset about that. No one said it would be full cost. He slumped into his chair, which groaned under the strain of the fight. Okay, listen, I get it, but don't make fat jokes when someone is being serious. Like, this doesn't work. It just doesn't. It calls attention to weird details. Like, you can say that it just groans, but don't... The strain of the Leviathan is kind of jokey. To think a miscommunication like this could go such a way. Mom laid a gentle hand on his arm. Then it's better to correct the record now and make up for lost time, don't you think? She looked at her and then back at me. Oh, yes, you're right, of course. Thank you, Inco. It's been very illuminating, if 'tis talk. I've always enjoyed our discussions on the metro. Hopefully going forward we can go back to those easygoing ones again. Yeah, he is! Fair enough, I guess. I see Leviathan not as the term for whales, though. But maybe it is, and I look like a fool. Let's take a look. Wasn't I going to cut the... Oh, yeah, we're almost there. Biblical use of a sea monster, a very large aquatic creature, especially a whale. Huh. Can also refer to an autocratic monarch or state. Nice. Well, I sure look like a gormless fool. My gorms, they're gone. My gorms, all of them. Right, of course. Thank you, Inco. Okay, yeah. He packing away his notepad, and he headed for the door. He gets his notepad. You have to use full text speed. I would like that.